Wheeling 21 Board of Education, March 16th, 2023 meeting is reconvened. We had a short closed session beforehand, so we are now reconvening. If everybody would please rise and join us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to welcome everybody to our meeting. As is our past practice, I'd like to welcome two of our elected officials from Wheeling, Sue Stein and Sherry Klump from Wheeling Park District. Good to see you both, have you here with us again this evening. Okay, with that, we will go into board communications, and we will start with NSSCO update. Deb?
Good evening, everyone. The biggest thing with NSSCO that we've been working on for the past month,
Mike, please.
what we've been working on mostly for the past month is finding a successor for Judy, and we have found someone. Her name is Dr. Meg Schnorr. She's out of District 15, and I would like everyone, our meeting that is I've got it scheduled as the 5th of April. Everybody will be getting an invitation if you would like to come to a meet and greet at Timber Ridge, which we'll be having before our meeting. So that everybody that would like to meet her is welcome. I think you'll be very pleased. We had a very in-depth interview process, and we are very lucky to have her.
Any questions for Deb? Okay. Before we move on, I just want to express my appreciation to Letitia and Cass and our instrumental music students from London who, and other buildings too? Okay, all the buildings then, that played at our reception at the IESB Division, North Cook Division meeting last evening over at the cafeteria at London. Everybody did a wonderful job. Organic Life did a wonderful job in putting out a great spread, and the folks that conducted tours for our North Cook Division colleagues, certainly want to appreciate them as well. And obviously our staff, Dr. Conley, Michael, Kim, Beatrice, who put on an engaging presentation to our colleagues in the North Cook Division. So we appreciate the fine job that you all did in representing us and our organization in full. You did a wonderful job. Got lots of positive responses on that. So with that, I'll pass it on to
How about a round of applause for them?
Thank you, Phil. First, for EdRed, there are a significant number of bills, both actual and their standard blank bills to be filled in later, that are being considered in the legislature right now that we're either monitoring or are actively engaged on. Everything from mandatory all-day kindergarten to tenure modifications to TIF reform. A number of these have been passed out of committee, but we're being told at the present time they're being held for further discussion and modification, the all-day kindergarten bill being one of them. Of course, being told they're being held and actually ending up being held may be two different things. We're still keeping an eye on it, something I mentioned to you all last month, which is Senator Crespo's bill in appropriations to hopefully create a grant to assist school districts with the influx of migrant students to the area. That is currently being considered by leadership, so that's where that's sitting right now. Additionally, finally, you all should have received and are receiving a weekly update from Bridget, give you an idea of what all the hot bills are. If you've got any questions, you're certainly welcome to contact me, or if I can't answer it, we'll send you on to Bridget. So, okay. As to IASB, you stole a little bit of my thunder. I won't have to talk about the dinner last night and all the thank yous. However, the big news out of the IASB is that the board of directors has announced their pick for the new executive director. Kimberly Small, who is the current general counsel and associate executive director, who will become the 8th full-time executive director and first woman in that role, since, which will begin upon the retirement this spring of Dr. Tom Bertrand. I know, Phil, you know her, and I believe Jessica, you know her as well, so if you want to add something, please go ahead, but that's the big news out of IASB. That's it.
Thanks, Bill. Yes, I've worked with Kimberly for the 10 years that I sat on the IASB Board of Directors and 6 years as an officer. She is an extremely talented, extremely knowledgeable individual, and I know she'll do the association proud. And she actually started as a policy analyst before moving into the legal role for IASB. So she's got some good, solid credentials in that respect. So thank you, Bill. Let's see, Arlen, North Cook?
I've got nothing for North Cook, but I just a parental bragging right moment. My daughter Heidi, who graduated from Cooper and then graduated from 214, next Monday, being honored one of 40 under 40 individuals in Milwaukee who are affecting the city and changing the city of Milwaukee, and I'm just so proud of her.
That's thrilling. That's thrilling. It really is. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Stacy?
Just a couple of things. I attended several Wheeling Chamber of Commerce events over the last month or so. I've asked them to start to send announcements and stuff to Leticia so she can spread all of the stuff to all of us. I'm not sure why he's not doing that. I'm not sure why we're not all getting everything now, but that way we'll start to all get all of the notifications for the events coming up. Wheeling Town Center is planning to do a farmer's market this summer on Tuesdays. And they are offering the opportunity for community organizations to have a table. I thought it was an excellent way for us to keep connected with students over the summer. So the other associate directors, the Park District, and Juan from the Park District, we're all going to talk about maybe so we all don't have to be there every week, maybe if we could share a table and whatever. So, but I wanted to thank Brad Friedman from Wheeling Town Center for that opportunity. I think it'll be really nice. And that's all I have. Oh, one more bragging right thing, just because I'm here tonight. And normally I would not be here. My son opens in Tick Tick Boom tonight out in Elgin. But my son, who was a special education student and didn't even know it until he was 19 years old, that he probably should have been a special education student all the way around with dyslexia and an information processing disorder that you don't find out until you're 19. But it was important for me to be here tonight, but I'm incredibly proud of him and the work that he's done over the last 4 years, and I just wanted to say that, so thank you.
One would never know that he had that type of challenge to overcome.
Hands down, and not only is he starring in the show this evening as the lead character, he was also the music director and the assistant director, and music directed 2 shows last weekend. So I think it was honestly because of people like Lauren Rogowski, who were there last night with us, that believed in him all the way through until today. So as we watched students perform last night, he is a product of that department. And I will tell you, it was because of the attention that he got from his middle school music teachers. I think that was why he is where he is tonight. So thank you.
Jessica, anything?
Well, if we're bragging as parents,
You gotta brag about your
I'll
kid from
pile
last night,
on.
man. He was awesome.
My son Jacob was one of the students selected to play at the pre-reception last night. He plays bass. He's a 4th grader at Tarkington, so he's only been playing a few months, but he was so excited to be chosen amongst his friends and colleagues and to play in a mixed group of students of different ages and skill levels. And I just, huge shout out to Lauren Rogowski. She instills these kids with so much confidence that even they're beginners or they've only been playing a couple years, they feel like they are part of an orchestra. They feel like they belong already, and he was so excited. But enough about him, let's talk about me. I attended the legislative roundtable through NSSEO with Debbie and Bill a couple weeks ago. And I'm really grateful that they did it and I was able to attend, because it was an opportunity not only to have legislators in the room hearing directly from a selection of parents who have had numerous struggles getting their children not only the services that they need, but all of the extra stuff that they need to be successful in life. And it was a gift to me to be able to hear from them directly and to learn more about some of the families in our community. And I know that none of these concerns fell on deaf ears. I know all the legislators were listening. It's really just a matter of, where the pressure comes to actually move forward to resolve some of these issues that they were facing. And more recently, just earlier this week, excuse me, I was able to attend the yoga class that was hosted at Hawthorne through the Parent Education, what are we calling it? Family Learning University thingamabob. It was taught by an instructor from the Arlington Heights Park District, and like I said, hosted over at Hawthorne. It's always nice to visit there. I attended the morning session, which I thought was really well attended with over 20 people, but they told me there that they had over 90 people RSVP, and they were expecting a much larger crowd for the evening session. I don't have numbers for how many that actually attended, but it's just so exciting to know that we were able to put on a program that was not only so well received by the community, but was so well attended, and childcare was provided as well. So I think that helped a lot of families. A number of the folks that were there with me in the morning, it was the first time they'd ever done yoga. And I thought the instructor handled it really well, especially since some of the participants only spoke Spanish. And so there was some, translation that occurred and allowed them to feel like this is a more accessible form of exercise and self-care. So I hope we can continue to offer programs like that. I thought it was an excellent workout, and it was great to see a program of ours be successful.
I want to bring family learning Zumba back, like really bad.
Well, last night was about community connections, and there you go.
Yeah, no, it was
Very
great.
good. Very good. Thank you. Stacy, anything to share tonight?
I have nothing to share.
We want to thank you. I'd like to thank Liberty Mutual for allowing you a break in your travel schedule to join us.
I am home for 5 days, so I'm glad we could.
Oh, God.
squeeze this in.
Oh, man.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll now move into
Been there,
staff
done that.
communications. Dr. Conley?
Thank you. Good evening. So as we noted in February when we gave our full staff plan presentation for the coming school year, we wanted to provide an update and particularly kind of just going over where we are seeing our hotspots in sectioning across the district. So Bob's going to briefly take us through where we stand in that.
Okay. So as you can imagine, we continue to review enrollment numbers on a week-to-week basis. Our district registrar, Carmina Martinez, continues to support families in the enrollment process and keeps us updated with new registrations and new numbers. In addition, our principals and secretaries do a remarkable job keeping us informed across the district as the new students enroll on a daily or weekly basis. This year, from our information services team, Art Hughes has developed a way to quickly pull those enrollment numbers across the entire district. This is broken down by school, grade level, and program. The wild card in all this annually will be first grade and kindergarten. Each year, we review the enrollment trends for both these grades and make determinations based on this analysis. At this time, we don't have enough information to consider any kindergarten sections as hotspots since it just opened recently. In working in collaboration with Dr. Reyes-Childress, we have noted a few hotspots that you can see on the screen behind me for the Board of Ed. I will say that over a course of a few days, a few weeks, or even a few months, hotspots will potentially shift across the district. All these hotspots are Gen Ed classes and sit right around 26 kids per class.
So one of the things that is certainly something that we are aware of is that we do have parents that are concerned about their child's class size numbers. We have class size targets that we are keeping in mind as we're making our staffing decisions, but there's also a lot of shifting that occurs. And so, we are in contact with some concerned parents and hearing their concerns. It's still a bit too early to make some of these decisions, particularly given the really vastly different nature that goes from school to school. I mean, one of the things that is very true is that when you are organized as neighborhood schools, as we are, each school does have different enrollment trends, enrollment pressures, different programmatic pressures. So, I'll use Poe as an example. We have a large first grade group at Poe. We've got a total of 4 sections of first grade. 2 are Russian bilingual, 2 are general education. The 2 general education sections are at 26 and 27 respectively. So that is one of those areas where we are closely watching how that may shift, and whether we have, additional kids coming in, or, any of our bilingual students that might be transitioning, which is a little early to transition, after only having 1 year or 2 years if they were in kindergarten with us in that program. So there's just a lot of unknowns. I will tell you also, just from a district-wide perspective, we are seeing a more brisk kindergarten enrollment, earlier enrollment than what we have, which is great. That doesn't mean that we're going to have more kindergartners, but it could. So again, it being March, we are very closely watching all of these things. When we are being asked to expand sections, we're not saying no, we're saying not yet. We really have to kind of make sure that we're making some decisions. We have added sections in some other areas where, quite frankly, the circumstances have existed for the entirety of this school year. Longfellow is often cited as an example. We will be going from 3 to 4 sections of second grade over at Longfellow next year. Those 3 sections that have existed the entirety of this school year have been, all of them, over there have been at 27, 28, whatever the case may be. So, it is a slightly different construct. That is not the easiest thing to see when, from a neighborhood school design, and we completely understand that. But I anticipate that we will have those types of additional sections across the district, and some that may also come down, in other areas. So it really is somewhat of a crystal ball and a balancing game that will continue throughout the spring. So as I noted, we'll continue to provide updates on a monthly basis. So we'll come back to you in April with another update of where we are. And that process will continue throughout the spring and summer.
Well, actually, unless it's an unusual situation, the fact that we have 4.5 to 5 months before the start of the next year, it doesn't make sense to overcommit at this point to something that's going to be going either way. And the other thing that we all have to consider is the actual physical space, the classroom space that we have available at each of the sites too.
Yes.
And in fact, at this point, to have only 6 hotspots is pretty remarkable, quite honestly. Arlen, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say that over the 30 years on the board, this is a perennial issue. We've dealt with it many, many times. We've always done our best to be sure the lowest grades have the lowest numbers, and it's always a balance of what's best for the kids and what we can afford financially. So,
and I do want to note that we, in those areas this year where we've had class sizes that are larger than our targets, but we're not able to open up additional sections either because the numbers rose too late, or we just didn't have staff that we could find to go into a new section. We have also made at the building level intervention kind of resources to where we have individuals going in, particularly during math and reading time, to draw the numbers down. So while there may not be another full section, we are always working to ensure that we are providing additional resources and some respite time, for lack of a better term, particularly in those high impact areas of instruction. And we'll continue to do that because we may come to a point where, as you said, it's August, it's September, we all of a sudden have a spike in numbers. We've had 500 newcomers come to the district since January 1st of 2022. They are coming in on a weekly basis. I think the first week after winter break, we had almost 24 enrollments, across the district. And so, we may see a situation even in the early fall or beyond where we kind of tip over into a certain space and we're not going to be in a position to to hire somebody to, go into that. So it truly is a balancing act, and Beatrice and Bob and myself, and we are looking at this on a weekly basis at minimum, sometimes multiple times a week, so.
Any other questions on this topic? No. Comments? Okay, next.
Michael has a brief update on our student fees and supplies.
So as we've done for the past couple of years, we are recommending that we do not charge a registration fee or require students to bring in supplies on their own. We do see this for the not just foreseeable future, but for the future. We believe that the district's in a position to go ahead and waive all student fees, in addition to not require students to bring supplies to school, which we think helps parents and families in coming to school. The one thing that we do need to watch, and we'll figure out a way to deal with it, is that our title funding is reliant upon fee waivers. So being that so many of our schools are CEP schools and everybody at the school is free and reduced, it requires that we will have to get waivers back at some point. Otherwise, our title funding could drop. Beatrice and I track that with Susan Tanabe from my department just to see where our numbers are coming in at, because those are dollars that support our schools in the most neediest areas.
My first question was, how is that affected?
Yeah.
So thank you.
So as you, in the 4 years that I've been here, our title numbers have dropped as far as the percentage, but luckily to date, our funds have not been drastically affected. So that is something that we work constantly on to try and figure out how to ask for that information to help the funds of all students that are affected, so.
And that's really a national issue, particularly I think was kind of uncovered during COVID, when basically everybody was free lunch, during the pandemic. We kind of, the numbers really got skewed because, we rely so much on those numbers for Title I allocations, again, across the country. And so this has certainly been something that we, as a professional, cadre, have started engaging with federal officials to kind of, we might want to look at this in a different way. There are certainly ways of being able to gauge, low income status that aren't reliant on free reduced lunch. That, of course, is outside of our control. That is federal regulatory muckety-muck. But we continue to have that conversation.
Well, while we never say never, it's nice that we're able to be in a position that we can go ahead and do this for another year. Is this what, the fourth year in a row? Third, fourth? That we're going into?
Third, I
I
think.
believe this will mark the 3rd year in
Yeah.
a row that we've done it.
Yep.
And this is saving, you would say, how much per student for the families?
Oh, I mean, between registration and supplies, it's easily, at a minimum, a couple $100s a family,
Yes.
so.
And it's not just the money, it's the time spent.
Correct.
It's great that Target used to have the list right there. You could go and go around, but, it's the time spent having to go and get everything and make sure it's,
And in all honesty, the pressure, because everybody's competing for Crayola crayons, and look, we can provide that for the families, and I think that that's something great that you all have put into place, so.
And the feedback, we got some feedback from working national night tables the last couple of years. The feedback from families for the support from the district, I think, was overwhelming in many cases. To have families mention what a different, and Debbie was standing right next to me. To have families mention how helpful that was, or the level of stress to come up to our table and say thank you, I think speaks volumes.
Very good. Anything else under staff communications this month? No. Okay, thank you. Next item on our agenda is public comment. Anyone who wishes to address the board, there is forms to fill out and drop off with Ms. Del Real. Any public comes to the table, makes himself comfortable, you have up to 3 minutes. During the public comment session, it is our culture not to engage back and forth. we listen, we take notes, and we follow up with administration afterwards. So if there is anybody in our audience this evening that has a public comment, this is the time to come forward. Okay, well, Mike, anybody in virtual land?
No, we don't.
Okay, we'll move forward into the consent agenda. Does anybody need anything pulled? Stacy, what would you like pulled? The minutes? A and B, okay.
No.
A through D.
A through D.
A through D,
A through D,
yes.
A, B, C, D. Okay, now I got it.
Proud graduate
Got to
of our
adjust my
schools.
hearing aids. Thank you. Before we go into the motions, let me just say that we had, I think, just one Freedom of Information request, which was pretty routine. And financial questions, I think I had maybe 3 or 4 for Melissa, and she and Michael had responded satisfactorily. So with that, Chair will entertain a motion for the consent agenda minus A through D.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Jeff?
Stacy Allen?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Phil?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy Getz?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
I vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you. Chair will accept the motion for items A through D collective.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Jeff?
Debbie?
Yes.
Phil?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Stacy?
Abstain.
Bill?
Aye.
I vote yes. Stacy Allen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We now move
Phil,
in.
before we go on, can I just make a quick comment on that?
Here, go right ahead.
Quite often, whether talking to the community or even more often talking to some of our legislators, I get asked, why do we don't work more often with our fellow taxing bodies to work in ways to save the community money and bring better services together? And under item N, which is an agreement between ourselves and the River Trails Park District, that is something that we are doing again. I commend Mike and your staff. And by the way, for our people in Wheeling, who we do this all the time with, thank you also again. But we do this on a regular basis, and this is a way that, again, we connect with the community and expand our reach to assist the community. So just wanted to thank you, Mike, and the team for doing something easy but still important.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you commenting on that. And as you'll see in the first couple items under new business is that type of working together with our fellow organizations and municipal partners. So new business item number A. Mike?
Yes, so both item A and B, which you'll take up separately, are approvals of our contract with the Village of Wheeling and the Village of Buffalo Grove respectively for the assignment of school resource officers for the starting with the 2023-2024 school year. This is the culmination of several months of conversation and very collaborative conversations with both villages and police forces, and will return an SRO program to the district, and I think will be an extremely valuable resource as we continue to work with the community on a whole range of student issues, social media, you name it. We're dealing with it, having a point person and a liaison that is able to form relationships with kids, form relationships with family, have positive interactions with law enforcement as a preventative. And so we're very pleased. I think we've had some wonderful conversations with the chiefs as well as the village managers, and philosophically we are in alignment. This is not a disciplinary tool. This is a prevention and safety tool, and one that I think will serve us well and serve our students well. So we recommend approval, and then that's step one. The village boards will take up this in their next meetings, contingent on the approval by the board tonight.
Would you just comment, I know structurally we're looking at the assignments being at the 3 middle schools, however, that doesn't preclude
Actually,
additional efforts,
yeah,
right?
so they'll be primarily based at the middle schools, but the way we've designed it is so the two SROs that are going to be provided by Wheeling, one will be attached to the London attendance zones. So the elementary schools and the middle school, they'll be based at the middle school. Same thing for Holmes. With the exception of Frost, because of course Frost is in Mount Prospect, but even then, there's still going to be some cross, conversations and things of that nature. And on the Buffalo Grove side, same type of thing, primarily based at Cooper, but will also be attached to Longfellow and Kilmer. So, each week, we, the model calls for the officers to be going into all of those buildings and checking in and being able to go where they need to go. Obviously, we cover 6 different municipalities. Arlington Heights has a different type of SRO model. So they have SROs assigned to the entire village. So we have a really great relationship with the Arlington Heights SROs, see them all the time at Poe and Riley. And then, again, there's a similar type of liaison model for Mount Prospect at Frost. And so there's those contexts too. Go ahead, Michael.
And as to the Arlington Heights model, Wheeling and Arlington Heights have been doing the same training we're going to be doing with administrators this summer for crisis management. So they work together on a regular basis, and Buffalo Grove has started to do some of that training with us as well. So everybody will be linked together in one way or another.
And I should note that, the departments have interdepartment agreements to be a support for each other. So for instance, a significant portion of our student population that eventually attends Holmes, lives within the village or the city of Prospect Heights. We don't have a physical building in Prospect Heights, and so there's not a Prospect Heights SRO. However, our Wheeling SROs will be able to coordinate with the Prospect Heights Police Department if there's a need for anything in one of those areas, and also, social workers at the police stations that are able to kind of work with our social workers and kind of across. So there really is even though we're in different jurisdictions, there's a good coordination of efforts across the board.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been a longtime believer in SROs, and back when we exited that program, I did a lot of reading on it, and at that time, our staff and superintendent didn't have much to say about who was hired, as I recall it. But you've changed the model. You're intimately involved now, the staff is, in who we're hiring and what we're looking for in those officers. And what you've described is the kind of a program that what I read about that back then that really has shined around the country and really has done great things for the schools and for the kids. So I'm a terrific supporter of it. I think you've done a great job in changing the model in District 21 compared to what it once was.
Thank you. And what I would also add to that is that it was not a unilateral change. It also, the chiefs in both departments, there truly was a philosophical alignment and a collaborative working relationship, so that, to your point, as we were in Wheeling, we're still in that process for Buffalo Grove, but in Wheeling, we've already had conversations and interviews of officers that are interested. And, obviously the appointment is the final approval of the chief, because they are employees of the village of Wheeling and the village of Buffalo Grove. But it has absolutely been a collaborative, and it wasn't even a question.
Great.
Yeah, so
It's marvelous.
Very good, very good. The chair will accept the motion on the agreement with Wheeling.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you. Jess?
Phil,
Aye.
Arlen,
Aye.
Stacy Getz,
Yes.
Bill,
Aye.
I vote yes. Stacy Allen.
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion now for the same arrangement with Buffalo Grove.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Jess?
Arlen,
Aye.
Stacy Getz,
Yes.
Bill,
Aye.
I vote yes. Stacy Allen.
Yes.
Debbie,
Yes.
Phil,
Aye.
Motion carries.
Got sidetracked a little bit there, looking at the next item on the agenda. One of the unfortunate things that have happened with the pandemic and the amount of time that our students had been away from in-person schooling has sort of led to the imposition of these SROs coming back to the district perhaps a little quicker than we might have been looking for it. So hopefully this will be a good, positive, and nurturing relationship for all involved. Item C, under new business. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so this is the approval of administrator contracts other than the superintendent for the 2023-2024 school year. And it's my recommendation that this be approved as presented.
Any questions for Dr. Conley? There was one change, was that made to the official document, Letitia, on the Whitman principle? Thank you, thank you. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
thank you. Jessica?
Stacy Getz?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
I vote yes. Stacy Allen?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Bill?
Aye.
Arlen?
Aye.
Motion carries.
As much as I would love to prolong our monthly get-together, we appreciate our public here. Next month's meeting in April is a week later. It is the 27th of the month as opposed to the 20th. If you're wondering why, that's because April 4th is a consolidated election. We have 3 members of our board that are up for, 3 positions on our board that are up for election. We encourage everybody to do your civic duty and vote in general. But the reason we have to move to the next week is to allow enough statutory time for the county of Cook to review, tabulate, review, and give us the official acceptance of the election. So 21 days they have, so our next meeting will be on the 27th. Chair will entertain a motion to not expire, but to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Jessica?
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Arlen?
Arlen?
Arlen, thank you. Phil?
Aye.
Debbie?
Yes.
I vote yes. Stacy Allen? Yes. Arlen? Aye. Bill?
If I pause, that makes the meeting go longer, doesn't it? Aye.
Say yes, Bill. Stacy Getz?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you all for being here. Have a pleasant evening. Good weekend.